Greetings! In this video, we will look at techniques to use styles, shapes, and SmartArt within PowerPoint 365 to enhance presentations using PowerPoint. Let's get started. Okay, so what you see in front of you here is the first slide of our 5-slide presentation. Again, this presentation will look at utilizing styles, shapes, and SmartArt to make graphics to let your audience see the data in a more engaging way. So what I will do right now is I will just cycle through these slides. The topic here is conserving energy at home. We have a slide here for energy efficient products. We have a slide here with tips to save energy. A slide here for managing your energy. And a final slide talking about a smart thermostat and some of the features. So as you can see, I'll move back through the slides again here. As you can see, these are engaging slides. The text is always utilized in some sort of graphic, in some sort of engaging way. The idea here is that you can present information without a lot of text on the screen and balance that out with some graphics so that your audience gets engaged in the material. Okay, so let's begin creating this from scratch. This will be your actual assignment for this module in the course, and you can follow along with this video to complete this assignment. So to begin, I will move back towards PowerPoint 365's PowerPoint screen and choose a blank presentation. Okay, the first thing to do in this process is to choose a theme. Now, the theme that I chose, we'll just take a quick look at that again. The theme that I chose here is a darker theme for the title slide with a graphic in the back, and then we move towards kind of a blue background. Now, I have sometimes had the situation where when I try to come back to the designer pane and find the exact style of slide that I'd used before, that it had suggested for me before, I cannot find it again. So let's see if that's the case. If it is the case, it's not really a problem. That style that was used in the example that I showed you, let me come back to that one more time, here is just used for the title slide. So we can really use anything we want for the title slide. The rest of the slides, the other 4 slides, we can preset and we'll use that and we'll set that up specific. So let's see what we have offered to us. The first thing I usually do is actually get the text in here. So I'm going to type in conserve energy at home. The reason for that is that in some cases, the designer will sense that text and give options based on the text that you're using for the title. So let's go ahead and switch to a theme here with Ion. And I'm also going to set the variant for Ion theme to be blue for the background. So this is what our body of our slides in our example look like. Let's go to that one more time. This is Ion using the blue variant. So back here, right now, we're still on the title slide. So notice here in the designer, it's given me some offers for some other styles, conserve energy at home, windmills, things like that. That's actually got a graphic, a moving graphic in it. Let's switch to that for a moment to look at it. There we go. You can hit it and it's got a video embedded in it. Okay, not something we need to use right here. Let's scroll down the list. And if you notice on the designer pane, you can put in some specifics that you're looking for, or you can just see more about what it's offering. Here we see another number of choices. These are again different from the last time I looked at this. They sometimes do seem randomized. And again, this will only be for our title slide, so I'm not too worried about it. We'll see if we can find something that has a bit of an energy theme like we had before. Okay, here we go. I'll go ahead and try this one. See what that looks like. Okay, great. That will work. So this will be our title slide. And so I'm just going to go back over to our example. I'm going to do something like this layout with the text on the new one that we're creating now. So what I'll do, as you know, I'll use my text box to slide. And then what we will see right off the bat is that we are moving behind this graphic. So what we want to do here is choose our text box, and whenever I right click on elements in PowerPoint, I can decide where those elements sit in relation to kind of a visual stack. So right now, the graphic that you see, the reddish graphic, is actually at the front of the stack. So if I move something towards it, the thing I'm moving towards it will go behind it. We want the text box to be in front of everything else. So I've selected this text box and I'm now bringing to front. And so look, watch what happens now when I move it. Now it sits in front of everything else. So I can manipulate the text box here so that we get more of a stretched out layout. Let's go ahead and move this up a bit. And I will then also take the subtitle and get that populated, which is Save Money and Increase Comfort. Okay. Whoop. Okay. And I have that previously on all one line. Notice that I need to move this to the front as well. I have the box selected. I can right click and I can bring to front. That is now placing it outside or in front of the design elements down here. To have this stand out and be a little bit more engaging, I am going to actually change the color and size of this font here. We know how to do that. I can come to my Home tab and I can just size up with this font sizing increase selector here. Make sure my text box will contain it. And then select this and choose a color. Because I want it to really kind of pop out here, I'm just going to choose a green. So now we've got a title slide here. We can play with this a little more in a few minutes. Notice on this example, I've also got this item right here. This is actually 3 items. Okay, so now we have looked at style. We have not looked very much at inserting shapes and icons and building something like this. This is actually 1, 2, 3 elements. Catch the outer one here. There. 3 elements. 1 shape, which is a box here, and 2 icons. So let's look at building that. Now, this technique applies to all kinds of things. You can build all kinds of graphics in PowerPoint. Because we're talking about saving energy in the home, this is the direction we'll be going in. But you can certainly do this all kinds of ways for all types of topics. The first thing to do here, we'll be doing this a lot. We'll be going to the Insert tab. The Insert tab is where we will find this section here, which is illustrations. We're going to work a lot with that today, as well as text box where required. The first thing we're going to do is put in a shape. Now, we have looked at this briefly before. We see all these different shapes in here. The primary one we're looking for right now is at the top, and it's the very common stuff. In this case, a rectangle, which can also be made into a square, of course. So I'm going to insert a rectangle. This gives me my crosshairs where I draw the shape that I want. Well, here I am drawing a square. Okay. So what happens is whatever the default color fill that I had used before is used. I can resize this and adjust this to be the orientation and the dimensions that I want. Let's get started with recreating what we had here in the example. We'll take one quick look. There's a green. It's actually got a bit of a gradient to it. You can see a gradient means that it's lighter. The background is lighter at the top and gets a little darker towards the bottom. Let's see if we can replicate that. If I come over to my Shape tab, which appears when I have a shape selected, I have a section here called Shape Styles. I could also manually choose the fill here, which is how it was done before. There's the color right there. I can choose the outline here. This would be the outline colors, in other words, the border. Then I can choose the weight of the line, the type of the line, and some other features of the line that style it. We'll do that in a second. Let's get the background set. Now, this color palette in the Shape Styles has picked up the theme of the title slide, which is a lot of purple and red. And that's fine for this example. We'll use this red actually. That's fine. I liked the idea of having a gradient, meaning it goes a little lighter from top to the bottom. So let's try the subtle effect here. Let's see if any of these colors are a little... Okay, we'll try the red. Okay, see how it sort of made a little bit darker towards the bottom, a little lighter to the top. While it is still selected, in the example, I had a thick border around it. So I'm going to choose the weight of the outline, and I'll set it to 4.5, the thickest possible. Then I will choose outline again and choose the style, which in the case of the example is a dashed line. So now we see that that's dashed, and I can even take it one step further and choose an alternate color so that there's some contrast here, and that gives a little pop to this image. So if I move away now, we've got this image. Again, this is one item, one element inside of PowerPoint of the 3 that we're going to put in. Let's put the other 2 in. Again, insert this section, the illustration group. This is where I'm going to go to icons. Now, this is very valuable and handy for putting in all types of things within PowerPoint. They can be fully resized and colored and stylized as you need. In this case, I'm going to search. So I'll search for house. Okay, and for the example, I had used a solid. Now, when you see that these are white and black, the black indicates that they're solid. The white indicates that the background color will show through them. So in this case, even though I don't want this to be black, we will change it. I'm going to choose the black one, which is a solid icon of a house. So I'm going to insert, and it puts in the center of the slide. I can come over here. Now I'm just going to park that for a minute. Next, if we look again, here is our example. I've got a leaf indicating energy conservation. So what we will do is come back here again to the icons menu, and I will search for a leaf. And here is the leaf. So I'll choose that one and insert. When you're sort of looking and shopping around for icons, you can select as many as you want. They'll all appear on your slide, and then you can delete them as you wish. So I will insert that. That comes over here. Now, obviously, the layout, the sizing, the color, everything is very different compared to our example. So let's get it there. The first thing we'll do is I'll move this leaf off over here where I can see it. And then this needs to be resized. And the way to do this is not to just grab one of the side sliders or selectors. I'm going to hit my undo key here and stretch. You will lose the original orientation or sizing of the image. What you have to do is hold Shift and go to the corner if you want to keep it that same orientation. Now I'm dragging and it's maintaining its dimensions, and that's pretty good. I can also be aware of the orientation and the alignment red lines that we know PowerPoint has, so I can have this dead center inside the square. Great. Let's make a little change to this. I have this selected. Notice what I have here now in the tabs. I have a graphics tab. These are these contextual tabs that appear when you select certain elements in PowerPoint. I'm going to choose it. We get the same type of thing that we get in other element selectors and styling. In particular, over here, we've got graphics, fill, outline, and change graphics. So I could always change it and choose another entire source and type. In this case, I'm going to choose fill. And since this is a solid object, I can fill it with a different color. I'm going to fill it with white. So there, if we come back over here to our element, we've got a match for that. Next, I'm going to take my leaf here and bring it in. Now, notice the orientation here is that the leaf is on top, based on the order that they were put in the document. The leaf is on top of the house is on top of the square shape. If I needed to rearrange these and have something go behind, I would right-click, and I could send it backwards one click, we'll say. Notice the leaf is now behind the house. House is in front. So I'll just undo that and undo my leaf. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do now, we just looked at changing the color, but I'm going to do something else first. On the top of a selector, you always see this little rotate icon up here. If I click and hold that, I can take any shape or any icon, any picture, any element usually that's in PowerPoint and rotate it. And that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to rotate this leaf. I'm not going to worry too much about the actual degrees that I've rotated it. We can take a quick peek back at our example again. It's going, northwest, we'll say. I will rotate it a bit more, and I will move it over here. Now, I know we need to do one thing. On the graphics, I will come to my graphics fill, and I will turn this into a green leaf. Now it's a solid fill, and then we'll choose an outline. So I can choose let's just choose a dark outline here. And so now we've defined the edges of that graphic. It's a little easier to see. Okay, the last thing I need to do is make this leaf a little smaller. I'm going to grab the corner. I'm holding shift right now. I'm holding shift here so that I get the exact dimensions maintained. All right, let's make it just a little smaller and sort of a leaf coming out of a house. Let's see. Yes. Okay. All right. I think I had this a little more rotated upwards. Okay. You get the idea. I am going to now also move these a little bit. And you have to keep in mind, these are three different things. So if I select 1, 2, and carefully get to the edge over here and select 3, I can move them all at once. So I'll just do something to this effect. And I'm going to take this and move this over here just a bit. Clear out this space. And I will take this title and just move it down just a touch here. Okay, there's the title slide. Good enough for what we've done. But what we have just now seen is the insertion of a shape, 2 icons, using styling for both of the icons and styling for the shape as well. All right, let's move on. Right here over on the right, I'm going to right click and just add a new slide. Now this is where we get into the fact that what it's going to do is use the previous theme's layout and style to give me additional slides, but I don't have to stay with that. So I can choose this other theme for this slide, which I was using Ion. We now have Ion down here, and in particular I also want to use the blue. What we want to do going forward, we don't need a layout that has a content area. So what I'm going to do for this slide is I'm going to come here and choose the layout, and I will choose title only. We're going to be entering other things that will give us the chance to have content down here. We don't need a text box down here. Okay, so our second slide, the text on that is, and I will just move back to my example quickly, show you what this looks like. Here's our second slide. So energy efficient products. And depending on the theme, you will have right or left align, different font sizes and types. We can adjust all of those. I am going to actually take this text and I am going to left align it. And I'm also going to come up here in the paragraph group and choose this, which is a bottom align. So in that text box, I want it to sit at the bottom. And we will continue that through the other 3 slides so that the titles are always in exactly the same spot as we go from slide to slide. Okay, what I will do here is get a color going. Let's choose the standard orange color for this. What we want to do now is we want to actually, here's our what we're looking to get to. I want to do one thing before we start to build the content in here. I want to get page numbers going for these slides, and I want to have a footer. The setup for those is in the same place. If I come here to insert and I go to footer and I choose footer, I will get the footer pane over here on the right. Right now, nothing is selected. Okay. What I want for this assignment is to have a footer that basically has the title. And as you can see, I've used that prior, so it comes up as a pre-choice. I will enter that in, Conserve Energy 2024. The other things you can do in this pane is set up the slide numbers. Now, what you can do is just check all 3 of these boxes. You want to have slide numbers, but you don't want it on the title slide. We don't want to see a number 1 on the title slide. But look what's just happened here. And this is based on this theme, this Ion theme. It is showing the footer here in a vertical position. kind of different. In other themes, the footer would be just down here along the bottom, as we see in Word and other things. But in this case, we see that the footer is turned upright vertical. It's below this green bar, a green rectangle, and that's where the page numbers go. So now that I've set this, and I can choose Apply to All, if I go to my title slide, you'll notice that there's no page number on my title slide or a footer. It picks up and starts on slide 2. So good. I wanted to get that set so as we build the other slides out, we end up with the same page number and footer. Okay, let's get this slide going. Now, this is text, a text box. This over here is a footer on the right. This right here in the middle is SmartArt. And what SmartArt is a graphical way of displaying text, usually bulleted lists. Not always, but bulleted lists do come into play. And the way this works is that you will see the result here, and you will see this construction area over here where you enter the text. So let's go ahead and go back to our example we're building. The way we get SmartArt is in the same way we've been working with other shapes and styles, is here in the Insert tab, in the Illustration group, and we choose SmartArt. Look what you see here. There are a lot of different SmartArt elements available. So in this case, we want to choose a vertical box list. And I'm going to just drop that in. Comes in with the preset styling of the theme. You move it around just like you do anything else. The difference is that it's got this pane over here where you're entering things. So this is where we work. We don't actually work inside of the SmartArt. We work over here on the left. So let's go ahead and put in a few things here first. Energy Star certified LEDs. We'll put in our titles of our green boxes here. Water Sense certified shower heads. And it will resize, and occasionally you'll have a situation where Microsoft 365, which is what it's doing right now, kind of needs to resize or be refreshed in some way. Usually I do that by clicking off and coming back, and it goes back to normal. So keep an eye out for that if that's confusing. The last one is hot water pipe insulation. So I've got those. This is how this will appear now. So if I want to do things to it that I would normally do with any element, I can drag corners and resize. I can free drag this and it will change both vertical and horizontal orientation. I can usually just make it fill the space. The text will also resize. Again, I'm going to come off this and come back onto it. Text will resize. However, I do not have my we'll call it subtext, my lines that are underneath. The way we get those is over here on the left. This is a bulleted list that I have. So I can add to this bulleted list at any time by, we know this from Word, by dropping a carriage return or a line break. And so now I've just added another line to this chart, to the SmartArt. However, I want to fill these white rectangles. The way to do that is you would indent and get a sub-bullet. And now when I type here, which is use 75% less energy than incandescent lights. And I'll change this. Remember, I'm doing all my edits over here. Uses 75% less energy than incandescent lights. It will resize this and set up the spacing that I need to fit the text that I put in there. So let's drop another one here. I want a sub bullet or an indented bullet. And we can add text here. Family can save 2,700 gallons of water yearly. Okay. And then one more time here. I drop a new line, create a new bullet, and indent that bullet by tabbing. And I'm not even going to worry about the way it looks just yet. It will fix once I reposition. Can raise temperature by 2 to 4 degrees. Okay, And I'm not going to hit enter because I will end up with another bullet and I don't want that. So I'll just click out of this SmartArt. Well, there it is. So it's not in position. So let me just grab it and move it. Again, I can use alignment tools if I wanted to try to have it go up against other things. I really don't. I just want to find a good place on the page for it and the right sizing. So I might make it a little larger. And click out, come back in, there we go. Sometimes you just have to click on other elements on the page to get it to resize. Okay, there we are. Let's go ahead and select it one more time. And I believe on my example, I had blue. So what we can do here, since I have it selected and I go to the SmartArt tab, I can change the colors here. You'll have styles here as well. And I'll set this here to accent 4, the second choice in accent 4. And there is the blue that we have in the example. Slide number 2. I like to just come over here and right click and choose new slide. Notice what it's done. It has picked up the background theme. It has picked up my layout, so I have title only. And it has now also brought my footer and the new page number for this slide over. Okay, great. Let's move to our next slide's content, which is tips to save energy. All right. It does not bring over the alignment, so I'm going to keep this left aligned, but I'm going to come up here in the paragraph group and bottom align it. So now when I move between these two slides, if I just use my arrows, the titles are staying in the same place. Tips to save energy. Let's insert another SmartArt for this. Let's go back to our Insert tab, choose SmartArt. In this case, there's a lot of different choices for things you can use. For the example, I chose a horizontal bullet list. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so here we have boxes again. This time they're going vertical. So it's in a lot of ways similar to the last one we just did. Notice here in this one, though, it's given me sub-bullets. It knows I want to have text in the lower part, whereas in the previous one, I might not have needed it to be in the lower part. What I will do here is, let me get my text. Okay, so we have appliances. And I'll just do the headers first. Appliances, windows, and lighting. And notice I'm just going to the bullet I want to work on and just typing. Next, I will put in the details below. Okay, great. Easy enough. Same concepts apply here. I can drag left and right. If I want to try to get this wider, it will then go taller. I can grab at the edge and move. I'm going to let this get a little bigger on the page. And again, the resizing thing in PowerPoint 365 is a little funky sometimes. Okay, this generally looks pretty good. It's in the middle of the page. Okay, so let's also go ahead and take a look at the styles for this SmartArt. Same way we did it before. Click and select the SmartArt. Come here, and we'll see what colors they have in the palette. And I think in this case, I'm going to use accent 6, second choice in accent 6 to get that color. Okay, next, I'm going to insert another slide. New slide. So this is slide 4 now. Let's come to our example and find that. Okay, so we have an interesting graphic here. This is SmartArt here, where you see this text. However, this is kind of like on our first slide where we created this out of 3 elements. So let's look at getting that done. We'll start with the title on the slide, which is Manage Your Energy. And again, I'm going to run this to the bottom. Now I'm noticing something else here as I go. On slide number 3, I'm noticing that this SmartArt was not the one I used in the example. So just to keep things clear, let's select this and we will choose the SmartArt tab here, and then we'll come over here to Layouts, where we can reset the layout. Let me just come down to List, and that's actually the group list. So that will change the layout of the one SmartArt that we're actually already working with. It's gotten a little larger. Let me just bring that in a touch. Okay. I wanted to be sure that we didn't have any confusion between the example that I give in the images and this video. Now on to the next one. Manage your energy. Let's look again at that example. We have this SmartArt and this graphic. So let's go ahead and get the SmartArt done. We know how to do that. Insert SmartArt. And if we look, we can see it right here. It's an upward arrow. Okay, it's the same process for all of the SmartArt. And what I would do first is enter my text, hourly pricing, and peak time savings, and central AC cycling. Okay, so there is the SmartArt. Now, in the example, there was some changes done to that style-wise. Let's take a look back at the example here. And we've got a kind of a gray background, we've got blue bullets, and we've got dark blue text. So let's see if we can create that. And what we'll do is we will choose the text. Now, when I'm in here, in this bulleted list area where I build the SmartArt, I can always come to my Home tab and I will get some features that I can change here. So what I can change right off the bat is the color of the text. Turn that to a dark blue so it sticks out a little better. And that'll be fine. If the color, if you want to choose a different SmartArt theme color, maybe this color with a black text is more, or a dark text is more interesting. I just want to show you this to show you the ways you can choose different things. So that's fine too, if it turns out you want to do that. Also, if we really wanted to, while we're in this mode, have some contrast on the text, we can select this text right here, and we can come up here and just have a background, say a gray background. And we'll reset the SmartArt. So see how that will let that text stand out as well. Let's leave that for a minute. In fact, I could even take it and move it over here, and we'll leave that. Let's look at creating this. It's 3 pieces, just like the one on the first slide. A $sign, a light bulb, and a shape. First thing to do is the shape. That will be the most at the bottom of the stack. It's easiest to do that first. I will insert shapes. And here we see a ton of different shapes to use. For this one, I chose a 7-sided 7-point star. And we'll just drop that in by drawing it here. Comes preset with the theme color. Okay. Now it's coming with a border on it. I see that. And I also see an outline on it. And I also see the fill in the background. The example has a blue with a green border. So let's create that. Shape fill. I'm on the shape tab. Shape fill. And we'll choose this blue right here, which I think is the same. Yes. Then shape outline is this green, I believe. Except what we'll need to do is go and make the weight 4.5. So it's a big thick border. Okay, so we have recreated, back to the example, there it is. We've recreated the shape that we'll be containing. Next, just like that first slide, insert icons, and now I am looking for a light bulb. Okay, and here's the one I chose. Again, darker ones are more solid, and I will insert that. That can sit there for a moment. The last thing I have is a $sign. Again, the dark one will be more of the solid version. I'm going to grab that. So here we have our elements. Let's take a peek back at the example. Larger, and the $sign fits inside the light bulb. Different color. So let's take this. I'm holding the corner, and I'm making the light bulb large. Let's look at the size of our shape real quick. It's pretty similar. Fine for this. You'll notice the light bulb is tipped and rotated. Let's do that. Very easy. Grab the rotate icon and rotate it. And then we can maneuver this into some position that looks good. more by eye at this point. Next, dollar sign. It needs to fit inside here, so I could do one of two things. I could make the light bulb a little bigger, and I could actually do both. I'll make the dollar sign a little smaller, holding shift on the corner here so that the dimensions of the image stay the same. And finally, under the graphics tab, I can choose graphic fill, and I can set that for a bright yellow. Okay, looking at that, it looks pretty similar. It looks like my rotation on the light bulb is a little more here. I can just move that back. Let me mention one other thing. When you're in this position, you have something selected, you can use your arrow keys to make very small adjustments. So I'm going to move this over a bit. I'm going to move my shape actually and change the orientation of my shape just a touch, a little skinnier. My light bulb can come over here so I'm in the center more, and then my dollar sign can come over here so that I'm centered. Okay, finally the last part of this is that I can now move my SmartArt over and create the orientation on this slide, in particular showing that these things will lead to a light bulb with money in it. There is SmartArt with styling. Here is again a shape that's been styled, two icons that have been styled, and we put those three elements together to make what's normally called a graphic. Let's do a new slide. And the title on this one is A Smart Thermometer Works Night and Day. Now, depending on the size of the text, so I don't want to change the size of my title text box. I'm just going to size this down a touch compared to the other titles, which will be fine. Once I get it to all in one line like that, I'm good. I can go to paragraph and drop it to the bottom. And in this case, on the example, I used bright yellow. Okay, so we're set up. Notice we're on slide 5. There's our footer. We're set up and ready for the last slide, which is really shapes. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to show you the conversion between a text box and a shape. We can use text boxes all day long like we have here, but we can use text boxes to then integrate shapes. The way I usually do it first is I will create the text boxes. So here's one here. Okay. All right, so here we have 3 text boxes. They're not in any particular position right now. We want to do a couple things. We want to, first of all, take all 3 of them and get the alignment of the text within the box correct. So we're going to do a center alignment on all 3. And I just do that one by one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select both of these 2 on the far left and right. And the way I'm doing that is I'm first clicking on the first one so you can see it's selected. And I can hold Command or Control and select the second. To get this converted to a text box, the easiest way that I find to do it is to turn on a style for it. So if I come to my Shape tab and I go to Shape Styles, that will trigger it to turn a text box into a shape with text in it. So here we can choose, let's choose a blue, and I will choose this subtle effect. Again, it's that lighter on the top, darker on the bottom, turquoise. If I click that, they both turn into what I had set before, which is a trapezoid. I can change, with those selected, I can change those shapes any way I want. Let's just choose a big plus sign here, a cross, moon. You can change them into anything you want. Okay, for this example, we're going to have them as trapezoids. And for this one in the middle, we'll choose the same style, which is the subtle turquoise. And for this one, I will choose oval, which is up here on the top left, which actually can also be a circle. All right. So now I've got 3 elements here. I've got the text inside, center aligned. I can do a little bit of positioning. We can get things a little bit higher on the page. Notice I have my alignment, red lines lining up, appearing. Okay, those are all top aligned now. I have to turn this into a circle. Now, the way to do that, you might think you would just grab the bottom slider here and run it down to a circle and then let go. That doesn't work. The reason it doesn't work is because these text boxes will always resize their box to the size of the text. So how do you do it? Well, easy way is to get to the first letter of the text and just add a couple of line breaks. I can do it. I'll do 2 of them on all 3 of these. And you'll notice what's happening to the boxes. They're changing size. This one may have already had one in it. You can do that at the bottom as well. So the example image has these as pretty tall trapezoids. Okay, those look pretty good. We can then do the same thing to the circle. I've already done the top. Let's do a couple at the bottom. And now we've got basically a circle. Now, depending on the size of the font and such, you might not have a perfect shaped circle. Sometimes you can actually squeeze it a little bit and it will come in a little bit. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Now we want to get some layout. Let's take this trapezoid and move it a bit. Grab the outer edge. Move it a bit over here. Let's grab this one, grabbing the outer edge until I get my red line so that they're top aligned, and come in a bit so I get off of the footer. Good. And then I can do the same with my circle. And you'll notice, if you can see it, lines appear showing the distance between the 2 elements on left and right. And if I get just the right spot right, it's hard to get sometimes. See if I can get it. Oh. All right, well, it's going to be somewhere right in this area. There it is. Okay, that circle is now in between the 2 trapezoids. In this case, for the example, what I like to do is, now that that circle is in between the 2 trapezoids, I like to just use my arrow key and drop this down so that it's sitting a little more in the middle of the 2 trapezoids vertically. Let's drop in our last element here, which is another shape. For my shape, I am going to choose, in the basic shapes group, a donut. Now that sounds strange at first, but let's go ahead and drop it in. I'm going to have this come here. Okay. That's about the size I want. I can move it so that I'm centered on these and left and right on the page even. While we have it selected, let's go to the shape styles here. And I do like these gradients in the subtle effect row, but I'm going to set this one to a black, dark gray. And if we take this donut, even though we've stretched it out, more like a rubber band, and bring it up a little bit, it's got a little bit of a 3-dimensional kind of effect. Okay, but we have a problem here, don't we? It's in front of our other shapes, and that's because we added it last. So the way to handle that is I right-click and I send to back, and I'll send it backwards. Okay, notice it's gone behind the most recent trapezoid. I do it again, backward. It goes behind the circle, and I do it one more time, and it goes behind the first trapezoid. So now it's in the back. And that is literally just an extra graphic. It is just something to create a little interest on the page. I can now take it and reposition it. Let's grab it here. I can reposition this so that it looks right. I'll just do it by eye, not worrying about the alignment lines. So it looks interesting. It is just visual interest at this point. Okay, and that is it. So we have done basically a lot of different inserting of shapes and a lot of different inserting of SmartArt on all of those cases, including inserting icons. In all of those cases, we have styled them. We have chosen a theme for our title page, and then we chose a different theme for our ongoing content pages. We used a title-only layout. We added page numbers, and we added a footer. And in this particular theme for these content slides, it's got a sort of unique look to it.